Here she is. I'm Pessy, welcome back. Today we're just gonna go over all the books that I've read that I consider to be the best self-help books. I split these into different categories based on whether they're educational, stereotypical self-help guide type of books, or just plainly help you expand your mind and educating yourself, and then plot-based books that I think were a big part of me expanding my perspective, be more receptive in different ways. Starting with category number 1, which is a guide, stereotypical type of self-help style books. I'm gonna have some popular pieces of literature that you may recognize, and I'm gonna also including books that I never heard of before that might not be as popular that I would strongly recommend and were amazing and great reads and made a huge impact on my life. First book I wanted to talk about I don't have with me in person because I read it so long ago, but it's called The 4 Agreements. The 4 Agreements is very popularly known by the entire self-help industry for a very good reason. The reason I am speaking about this book first is because it is the first self-help book that I read in my journey when I was a junior in high school. I read the book and I feel like that really was a trigger to my love and care for self-development. I think it really was the first book I really connected to outside of fiction, because until then I was reading a lot, but I was reading mostly fiction. This book is what really sparked my interest in self-help books, and I think it really opened my perspective a lot because I never read or heard anything like that. There's basically listed in the book 4 agreements. He basically describes them as the principle to achieve personal freedom and a fulfilling life. The 4 principles that he talks about are: be impeccable with your word, don't take anything personally, don't make assumptions, and always do your best. From all the 4 agreements, the one that really made a huge impact on me, that really opened my mind a lot, was don't take anything personally. For some reason that chapter really spoke to me, and it really caused me to have this key moment in my head where a lot of things changed and my perspective changed on a lot of things. I will say the writing is very reader friendly, almost anybody could read it, but it's definitely good if you're just starting your journey and want to start with something that's not too intimidating. I would start there. The next book I'm talking about is Your Sacred Self by Dr. Wayne W. Dyer. This book, if you can't tell, it's literally missing half the book. I beat this book up. I literally got this for free at a thrift store near my house. I'm telling you, some of the best things in life are free because this is my top number 1 self-help guide book that I've ever read in my life. The way I happened upon this book is so random and so perfect. I think the way I got it is a sign to how it was just made for me to read, because it was just a random day that I decided to go to the thrift store and they were giving out books, and this happened to be in a little pile of books. And I never even heard of Dr. Wayne W. Dyer before this, but Your Sacred Self reveals a 3-step program to help us understand our place in the world and develop a sense of satisfaction within ourselves and others. It's all about making decisions to be free. The way he approaches this whole topic is very unique. I love the way the book is written. It presents a problem, it presents why we partake in this type of habit or action, and then it presents a bunch of practical tips and guidance onto how to fix this problem, how to build a new habit. It talks all about meditation, being still, ridding yourself of the ego, operating from love, and I just really resonated with almost all the topics of this book that are spoken about. And I feel like I gained so much knowledge on this, and it just gave me so much perspective. I read this book over a long period of time, and every single page I read, I felt like I was gaining a lot of wisdom. I did apply a lot of these tips to my life and have seen how it's helped me, so recommend this. The next one is The Mountain Is You by Brianna Weiss. I actually got this with one of my best friends. We did a little book club together because she accidentally got 2 instead of 1, and I was like, I want to read it. This book is about self-sabotage, why we do it, when we do it, and how to stop doing it for good. And this book is all about how all the problems that you have in your life just stem from you in some way, and I like it because it's not self-victimizing. It's basically helping you take your power back and recognizing how exactly you are your own biggest obstacle and ways to combat that as well. And I feel like it's written pretty elementary, like anybody could read this, honestly. It's not intimidating at all, and it gives very practical tips. It does get a little bit repetitive, but I think repetition is the key to absorption, so I don't think that's a problem. I like the chapter that she talks about how to understand the difference between intuitive and invasive thoughts, and because sometimes it's hard to understand what thoughts to listen to in your head. One of the points she made is intuitive thoughts show you how to respond, invasive thoughts demand you to react. This is just like one example. But I love this. It's just really straightforward, not too complicated, easy to understand. The next book is What to Say When You Talk to Yourself by Shad Helmstetter, PhD. And this is one of the books that I also got from the thrift store for like literally, it was either free or $2 randomly. I never heard of this author before, never heard of this book before. I just decided to pick it up. It feels like another book that I found by fate and that was meant for me to read. And I love this book. This basically is all about how to talk to yourself in your mind with the written word out loud and in any situation in order to achieve what you want to achieve and succeed in life and live a fulfilling life. And it's just all about how self-talk and inner dialogue is basically like the epitome of what determines who you become and how you become it. Also, I love this because of all the practical tips and tricks and ideas that you can actually apply to your life to help improve your inner dialogue. It gives like so many great examples of positive self-talk phrases, of empowering yourself, like loving yourself. So many valuable ideas and concepts in this that are so true. It's all about just how we're all programmed to think about ourselves in a certain way, programmed by the people around us, the society's standards, and the things that we've been told our whole life, and how it's our job to reprogram ourselves so that we can live our best life and so that we can be the best version of ourselves and to put the power back in your hands. Okay, these two books are The Psychology of Money and Rich Dad Poor Dad. I read these both whenever I started thinking about mindset with money. I think these two books are crucial when you're getting more serious on your journey to success monetarily. It's so important to create the foundation of your mindset around money, like understanding little things about why you think about money the way you do, what it has to do with, if it's the way you grew up, if it's the things you've been told, and if you have this like lack mindset around it. This basically like brings a lot of awareness and attention to that, and both these books explain really well how the mindset you have around money will really affect the money that you end up making. So I think these both are really good books when it comes to that. Along with this, The Millionaire Next Door. I didn't get through this fully. This goes into detail about the secrets of America's wealthiest, and it's just a bunch of statistics and a bunch of analytics that are just completely research-based material on what habits make up a millionaire in America. Just a basic knowledge on the habits that millionaires have, and I think it helps you understand and see the differences in the habits that people have around you and how it keeps them or helps them stay in the place that they are. I'm gonna move on to some more books that educated me in different ways, not specifically like a guide style, but more just like opened my mind and helped educate me. Educating yourself on different things like history, science, the way the world works is very important when it comes to our self-development, to just understand things in the world around us, more open perspective. One book I read is The World Religions. This book is just all about the most popular religions in the world today. Just like a little overview of each religion. It goes over Hinduism, Buddhism, Confucianism, Taoism, Islam, Judaism, Christianity, and some other ones. And I think it's just important to like kind of have basic knowledge on the things around us, because ignorance is bliss in a way where everything is more simple. But if you are on a journey of self-development, I think it's extremely important to just be knowledgeable on the basics of the world, and it helps you understand human behavior, and it helps you just see so much connections and parallels between why things are the way they are in everyday life. This one's by Houston Smith. I like his writing style a lot. This one, Philosophy by Edward Craig. I like this book because it's just like a brief overview of like different philosophers throughout the time, like what they thought, what their ideas were, and it gives kind of a little bit of context to each one. And I like this because I never really learned about philosophers that much. It just gave me a little bit of knowledge, but in a lot of different areas. So now I just feel like I'm overall more well-rounded when it comes to this topic. And philosophy is all about the way people think, and this helps with understanding human psychology, and just also, like I said, when you get to see the parallels of how people in the past have thought to how people today think, it just helps like connect and tie us all together and make things make more sense, and just helps to expand the mind as well. Another book that I read that fits into the stereotypical self-help guide style type of book, The Power of Habit and What to Say When You Talk to Yourself, both had a really big impact on me really understanding and seeing how like the automatic functions of my day-to-day in the way I think and in the way I act are all just compiled habits and programming from my history and from the past, and how if I want to change in any type of way, it's all about understanding that those are all like habits and programming, and to create new habits and to reprogram. I don't think you can successfully create new habits or reprogram yourself without first really understanding what it means to be programmed and what it means to have habits. So both of those books really helped me in that area. I see every day and I recognize every day whenever I'm acting out of programming and habits, which is like literally most of our existence, like operating from this autopilot actions rather than you really being mindful and making decisions each moment. We make decisions and our actions are just based off of like the past, literally. If we want to change and we want to see good change in our life, mentally, emotionally, and physically, we really have to understand how it's all in our ballpark and it's all in our control and our power to make these changes. I did want to go over some honorable mentions that I read that they're not specifically self-help books, I don't think, but these books really helped open my mind up, change my perspective. So the first one is Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor E. Frankl. Frankl experienced in Nazi Germany going through the concentration camps. This talks about his experience and also how he was able to have hope. His argument is that we can't avoid suffering, but we are the ones that get to choose how to cope with it. The lessons that and themes that he writes about and speaks about in this book can be applied to everything in life. Then I have The Sun Does Shine, which is Anthony Ray Hinton's experience being on death row, falsely accused of a crime that he did not commit. And if I remember correctly, he served 23 years on death row before his release. It's kind of similar to Man's Search for Meaning in the way that it just describes how humans are able to cope with such strenuous life situations, and we are the decider of how we choose to live our life even in the worst situations. This is obviously extreme examples, but it just helps open your mind up because these are real stories and it gives a lot of perspective. First of all, not only how these people were able to deal with such terrible circumstances, but also gives you the ability to have gratitude for everything that we have and take for granted. We have Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse. This is fictional, but I just really like the themes and the topics that are talked about in here. I think it's very expansive. The way this is written is amazing, and I think it really also had a big impact on me in different ways when it comes to just the themes that it talked about, like suffering, finding yourself, freedom, wisdom, lust and greed, and just all things human and all things enlightenment. And it's just like a really cool way to contemplate these topics with this book. So I like this. It's just like a short little read. This was a book that I had to sit with afterwards for like days and just like journal about it forever. And then this book I read during quarantine, Notes to Myself, The Struggle to Become a Person by Hugh Prather, is just a collection of thoughts that Hugh Prather had, and it made me feel just very related to, but also had a lot of concepts that were very expansive. This is like one, the unstill part of the mind travels from one trivial issue to another, avoiding the present and avoiding love. I don't think the answer is to try to reform it, rather to stop taking it so seriously. Its effect on me is minimal as long as I don't try to make out the words. This is just like kind of like random thoughts that he had while writing a book, and I just related to them a lot, and it helped me kind of make sense of the world a little bit. So it's just kind of like having a friend on the journey and creatively inspiring. Anyway, that is all for today. Those are all the books that I can think of that had really big impacts on my personal self-development journey. These books really helped shape my perspective and expand my perception of the world, and just gave me a very different outlook on life overall. And I think all these books really offer just so much wisdom and value in their own ways, and I just like wanted to make something that was more diverse, so you can see how like different types of genres of books and different styles of writing can help you in different ways, rather than just the stereotypical self-help guide type of books. You know, every book can be a part of your self-help journey as long as you are learning lessons from it and relating to it, and it's helping you understand life in different ways and just inspiring you in whatever way it is. Just keep reading, keep expanding the mind, keep educating yourself. It's just so amazing that we have access to all these different authors and books, and it's never ending, and the unquenchable thirst for knowledge should always stay a persistent part of your person, because what is life if we're not constantly questioning and trying to understand and learn more about it, right? Always remember to just take deep breaths and live mindfully.